G'day Bomber fans, we have got some juicy trade news. It seems like the Exodus chat has died down a bit. Ridley is staying put, that is good. And since then we've also had quite a few updates. We've got some potential incoming players. So let's get into it. It is time for a trade update. Let's start with Sam Flanders. He is currently contracted but wants out of the Gold Coast Suns. He told the club in an exit interview that he would seek a trade. There's quite a few Victorian clubs keen on him. He's met with, or is about to meet, Carlton, Melbourne, St Kilda and the Essendon Football Club. It is now seen as more likely than not that he leaves Gold Coast for a Victorian team this year, so it just depends on which club he joins. He has links to the Demons and their new coach Stephen King, but other clubs are probably better positioned to facilitate a trade. We of course have one of the better draft hands in the comp, and the Blues will also be looking to trade away their first round compensation for TDK as soon as they get it. It also depends on what Gold Coast want. So will the Suns be asking for first rounders, seeing as they need to trade away their own? They might not be desperately seeking early picks unless they're also seeking capital to be used in a trade for Charlie Curnow. But then remember, the Blues don't want draft capital for Charlie Curnow. They're trading away first rounders. So there's a lot that kind of needs to be worked out with the clubs involved in this one. Trading for players is actually getting pretty difficult in some situations because clubs like Gold Coast, even Essendon, in an ideal world, are getting something other than picks for their players. So this one will take some working out, and that is even if it gets to that stage. There are 3 other clubs in the hunt for Flanders, but he is thinking through his options in trying to leave the Gold Coast Suns. Something else we should mention is the fact that his manager, Tom Petroro, you would know that name because it's the same manager of Zach Merrett. So if that trade was to ever heat up, you could see room for Tom trying to be, killing a few birds with one stone. Brayden Fiorini is the other Gold Coast Sun in talks with the Bombers. So he is an unrestricted free agent, but the Suns want to keep him. He can go wherever he wants against their will, and the Suns can't do a lot about it. Now, Gold Coast are actively improving their contract offers to Fiorini to convince him to stay. They've upped the years from 2 to 3, which for a 28-year-old who had only just rediscovered his form which shows you how impressive he was to end the year and how badly clubs want him. Cal Toomey says the Bombers have offered Fiorini a 3-year deal at least, maybe 4, but we're not the only club keen. Port Adelaide are also in the hunt here. In fact, Fiorini is currently in Adelaide and has already toured the Alberton facilities, so there's a few clubs chatting with him. Something else to note here, by the way, if the Bombers wanted Fiorini, let's say he nominates Essendon, he is an unrestricted free agent, but securing him as a free agent would dilute the compensation for Sam Draper. So let's say we get band 1 compensation for Draper, a top 10 pick. That may slide down to band 2, depending on how much we're paying Fiorini. So there is actually a world where the Bombers would rather trade with the Gold Coast Suns for Fiorini instead of securing him as a free agent, which is really interesting. And given there's also interest in Sam Flanders, some believe it could be a little 1-2 punch to give the Suns better compensation for their outgoing stars, while also negating any dilution of our Draper compensation. Now, I think that's a bit far-fetched given we're tight enough for list spots as it is, but it shows you what can be done. But even if Fiorini does lean towards joining us, he's originally from Victoria, by the way, we would have to wait until after the free agency window, given we don't know what the compensation is yet for Sam Draper, and that will dictate a lot of what we do in this off-season. The last son to chat about is Connor Budarick. He is someone the club has had interest in this year. We were one of a few clubs to have met with him or been in contact with him, so he is weighing up a move away from the Gold Coast Suns like a few of his teammates at the moment. He's got interest from a number of clubs. There are quite a few in line here, but according to the Gettable boys, it looks like he has narrowed it down to 2, the Western Bulldogs and the Brisbane Lions. That is, of course, if he is to leave the Suns, because there's still a chance he stays too. So, yeah, the Bombers have had interest in the past, this year, in fact, and it would have been a cool move, I think, giving us another lockdown defender to free up McGrath, but it looks like we are out of the race. It is down to 3 teams, the Dogs, the Lions, and the Suns. Zane Duursma, so this one's kind of bubbling away a bit. There isn't any big concrete news, it's just mentioned a lot, and so for that reason it's probably less likely to happen, you would think. He hasn't requested a trade from North Melbourne or anything like that. He did tell the club in his exit interview that he was frustrated, and there is a thought that if a trade was possible he would be all for it. The issue is no clubs have really come that hard, it looks like, but Cal Toomey has said quite a few times that if Zane Duursma was to leave North Melbourne this year, it would probably be for Essendon. You've got family links, he could play with Xavier, Willem as well as a Bombers fan, although he probably won't end up at Essendon. But yeah, Zane would be staying in Victoria. He'd probably get a fresh start to his playing, which hasn't exactly gone to plan. You've also got the fact that he is one of the last remaining players from that top draft class not to sign an extension on their existing contract, which runs out next year. So there's a bit here. It's just whether or not it plays out. The Roos would want draft picks, probably early ones, given he was taken in the top 5, but it's tough to justify giving up capital for a talented player, yes, but one who hasn't quite proven himself yet. I like this one. So Riley Beveridge reported on Inside Trading that Essendon are interested in Hawthorn defender Jye Serong. He said it was the Bombers and North Melbourne who are the clubs that are weighing up a move, and Serong himself is assessing his options after spending most of the year in the VFL. Now, he was incredible in the VFL, Serong. He was actually named centre-half-back of the VFL Team of the Year, a season after he won Box Hill's Best and Fairest. He's still young. He's 22 years old. For me, this is a no-brainer. I think if the Dons were looking at fringe players across the competition, this is one of the better key positional players to be approaching for a reasonable trade. Serong wouldn't cost much at all. He was picked 53 in the draft. He's only played 10 AFL games. He's actually out of contract as well, so he could even be delisted. This drives the price down. I'm really happy with, I guess it's not really news yet, nothing's come from it, but the fact that the Bombers are considering it, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the club should be really looking at young fringe players from those top 4 teams, and the Hawks have plenty of them. Henry Hustwaite is, of course, another we were looking at separately to the Merrett deal. Same with Serong, this is separate to the Merrett deal. I personally think Serong of the two is the better trade target. He's shown a bit for me in the last few years. I think he could be a decent player. Now, also, I am seeing a bit of talk around Sean Darcy. I feel like that happens once a year, not even just with Essendon, but with Sean Darcy in general. I feel like, I don't know, the club for a while has said they're pretty keen to keep him, the Dockers that is, and that's optics, but it doesn't really strike me as a realistic trade given what we'd probably have to give up and his age profile and everything, so I don't really think there is heaps in this one personally, but it has been mentioned a bit in Essendon communities. I know as soon as I say that, I'll be proven wrong, and we'll have Cal Toomey saying that he's requested a trade to the Bombers. Zach Merrett, so he has fronted the media. He stopped and chatted at the Brownlow. He was very rehearsed. You know, you could clearly tell that he was practicing those lines, and he went with the narrative of him thinking through his decisions. He didn't deny wanting out. He said he was thinking through his options. Whether or not that is true, I'm going to assume that he wants to go to Hawthorn. I think it's more likely he just understands the club's situation and realises that he may well need to play footy for the Bombers next year. And that message was further strengthened by Andrew Welsh, the club's new president. I thought he spoke really well on Footy Classified and was really strong and direct in his messaging about most things, but Zach Merrett as well. And the way I see it, if Dave Barham said the club wasn't trading Merrett, for me that is purely optics. But now that Andrew Welsh has said it in his first day, it was a very strong message, but now he has to really stand to that. Otherwise, it probably won't look good if his first messaging is wrong. But I will say, just because the club says they're not going to trade a player, it doesn't mean they're not going to. This is now, it is fully on Hawthorn to pay up. If they want Merrett, they can have him, but they got to give us well and truly overs. The only reason that Andrew Welsh walks out of this one happy is if, one, Merrett stays with the club, or if Hawthorn has given up a serious amount of capital and player talent. Otherwise, Merrett is staying put. And I've said this the whole time. I think in every update I've said that I think Merrett is more likely to stay. I know it's messy, but a big reason of that is the media. Like, Merrett said he's going to the Crichton. That was a lie. That was a made-up story. He's been in contact with members at the club. Ties aren't completely cut. I still think he stays, and if he doesn't, it's because we've gotten a great deal out of it. So, yeah, Hawks fans might come in trying to say they've got the upper hand. I honestly don't think they do. So my gut feel is that Merrett is held to his contract because I just don't trust Hawthorn to pay overs for a 30-year-old before Tassie enter the comp. Realistically, they traded out of last year's draft for a 30-year-old Barras. They're not going to ruin the next 3 or 2 uncompromised drafts for a 30-year-old Merrett. If that's the case, they won't have a chance of getting young talent through the list, this list method in a long time. And we don't even really want picks anyway, the Bombers. We've got enough of them. We want players, and not just VFL players. We want good young players to continue building this list around. I think even if another club joins in on this, it just feels too difficult to get done while it's contracted. So I think, and I've said this the whole time, I personally think Merrett is more likely to stay, but of course it is going to be talked about a lot in the next few weeks. Now, some fun news. Jye Menzie, delisted forward. He is wanting to continue his career after being cut by the club, and the good news is he has Tasmania seeking him out. He's got an offer from Tassie's inaugural VFL team that enters the competition next year. Menzie was originally from Tasmania, so this makes sense, and you'd think he wouldn't turn down the opportunity, especially given the Devils are set to introduce an interesting list management method. They're going to be signing players to the VFL side, to the AFL side from their VFL side when they join the comp. So it gives guys like Menzie a good chance to get that AFL lifeline later down the track, which would be good to see. So yeah, good news. I reckon he deserves another go somewhere else. Jayden Laverde, so he has been delisted. He isn't at the Bombers anymore, like with Menzie, but the good news is it is now looking incredibly likely that he joins the GWS Giants. He had met with them. He had a medical there. It was likely he made the move across even if contracted, or if we had a contract on the table. table, but it's now seen as almost a given that he joins the Giants either during the delisted free agency window or probably more likely the SSP window. The latter is easier for clubs to navigate, so we're probably going to see Stringer and Laverde together again, reunited at GWS. I like that. I think we made the right decision delisting him, but it's good to see him get another go at it. And before we go, let's just chat a little bit about Ken Hinkley, because the other night on Footy Classified, there was a weird vibe about it. Not a bad weird. I think it was a good weird, because you had the panel kind of egging him on to join Essendon. You know, obviously he's been sacked by Port Adelaide. He's going to be looking for a new home in footy somewhere. But you had the panel. Eddie Maguire was leading the charge. Hurd was getting around it, kind of egging on Hinkley to join the Bombers. And Hinkley wasn't doing anything to quiet it down. He was eating it up. He loved it. There was obviously news about a month ago that the Bombers could be one of the clubs looking to bring Hinkley in to support our coaching staff. He rubbed shoulders with Andrew Welsh the other night, joked about exchanging numbers with him. I get the feeling the Bombers are going to be having a chat to him, trying to bring him across. Obviously, so will other clubs. He's a highly regarded coach and player communicator, but I'd personally love him at the Bombers. You know, it would be really interesting to see that narrative kind of form, especially after the other night on Footy Classified. But yeah, that is that. Trade update done. Not long now until the silly season officially kicks off. We got the free agency window next week. That's going to tell us a lot about the Sam Draper compensation and what we've got at our disposal. So there is plenty more to come, plenty more videos to come. Cheers for watching, guys. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.